Blessed be the Lord God. I'm grateful for every breath I'm able to take, that I have my health, that I'm able to do things for other people. I'm grateful that the Lord is blessing me to be a blessing to other people. Um, Even if I'm straggling along and struggling with something, it doesn't matter. As long as the will of God is done in my life, I'm grateful. I want to talk about something here that God put on my heart to disclose to people, because I know that there are a lot of people that have gone to seminary and they've got some really good background biblically from having being trained and taught and learning from people who have been practicing and living according to the word of God a majority of their lives. They've gone through trials and tribulations just like the rest of us and anybody. Uh, I was talking to a man the other day uh, while I was on the job making a delivery, and I'm just giving you this as a testimony before I get into this. And sometimes you feel the spirit draw on you to try to bring clarity for people so they have an understanding of what's happening around them, instead of having their own perspective. Because God tells us, that the Bible tells us, be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It also says that uh, we shouldn't lean on our own understanding. Okay. And with that being said, um, you get the feel of people anymore, especially since the early tens, 2010s, the early teen years going into the 2020s. And you start looking at that decade of time that has passed us by so quickly, and how much change has happened just in that matter of a 10-year span. And you forget where we came from. You forget what kind of lifestyle that was sort of like a template for people to follow. Or, like, there's so many different cultures now. Just in a 10-year window, cultures have been popping up all over the place. People that you haven't known before. And people think secret societies. Well, I'm going to just help you understand something here. And it's going to sound like it doesn't make sense. And if it sounds like it doesn't make sense to you, I'm going to ask you to read the first few chapters of Genesis that I'm about to use to bring context to what I'm talking about. But when I was making this delivery, I talked to this man because I felt drawn to do so. And, everybody's ready for World War III and Biden's going to do this, and, we're waiting for Trump. And I hate to bring the political part of this into this, but I mean, just people are just being ignorant right now. And matter of fact, let me bring this to understanding why I'm bringing the political part of it into perspective, because this was the reason why the Spirit told me to discuss the truth with him. Okay, so let me look at this. If a man come in his own name, him you will receive. And it says that in the Bible. But I have to find the specific location of this said scripture, because I don't want to lie to anybody. I don't want to have anybody confused about what I'm saying. So in the book of John, okay, the book of John, the first book of John, chapter 5, verse 43. Sorry, I'm a little had a headache for a majority of the week, this past week. And things have just been challenging for me to try to overcome, but it's fine, because that just lets me know that the Lord is definitely working on my behalf, and He's given me the power to push through. He even told Paul, "My grace is sufficient for you." Grace is power. Grace is strength. Grace isn't just uh, something that the Lord gives you as a gift. You have to understand what the word grace means. Grace is the empowering of God's will and purpose in your life. It's what God says, I have given you a spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind. He didn't mean for you to think that to be, oh, his grace is sufficient for me, so it's just a matter of mercy. No, it's not just that. It's God blessed you with something to use, and it's like that. But I don't want to get off track here, off base. So chapter 5 in John, verse 43, and it says, I am come in my Father's name, and ye receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him ye will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that cometh from God only? And that, my friends, is in chapter 5 of John, the first book of John, Saint John, not the numbered John 1, 2, and 3 books, but Saint John, just after Luke, John. Okay. And I brought that up because people are leaning more toward a presidential candidate or somebody who's living in a position, or they have the mindset that they agree with whatever he's thinking, and however they feel at the time, whatever justifies their position in life. That's what they're leaning on. They're leaning on their own understanding about that specific person. That person is bringing himself in his own name. So now he's bringing himself in his own name, and people are saying, oh, I agree with him because I like him. He has the same thoughts and values that I have in my heart and my life. So I agree with him and I accept him because that's exactly the way I want to live. Am I making sense to you yet? So what happens here is this. People seem to forget where they come from. Like I said 3-4 minutes ago. And forget where we come from, meaning this past decade that has just flew by so quickly. And if you blinked, you would have missed it. You seem to forget before we had the availability to do things like we can now, what it was like beforehand. What was it like before that? If you practice something, let me give you an example. If you're born into a carpentry, your father was a carpenter. As a father does, his son shall do also. If you're a carpenter, if you're a mason, as in masonry, doing bricklaying work, not mason as in a Freemason, okay, but mason as in doing masonry work, or a concrete worker or a construction worker of any type. Or then your dad did it, and now you're doing it because you were born into it, and he taught you the trade, and you started learning from your youth all the way up how to handle and do the business, and you're on that. That's because that was trained in you. You were brought up in that. That was something that you got to practice your entire life. That was a skill set that was endowed in you from your youth. And you practiced it because that is what you knew. You grew up in it, you practiced it, you did it with your father, and now you're doing it on your own, whatever the case may be. You could be a technician of some sort. You might be in the military. There's a family thing going through the military where, your father was in the military and you joined the military because your father was in the military. And then, so on and so forth. As a father does, a son shall do also. So if what I tried to get this man to understand when I was making this delivery to him, and I'm not getting off point, off base at all, because this is the exact entire point. We forget where we came from because we don't understand that somebody who's never been where we are can take us where we. Let me slow down a little bit because people aren't going to understand or catch this. It's going to fly by you like a missile. Okay. Somebody who's never been where you've been can help you get to where you're trying to go. I'm going to let that soak into you like a sponge for a second. Somebody who has never been where you have been cannot help you to get where you're trying to go. I'm going to give that to you one more time so you get a good understanding. Somebody who's never been where you have been can't help you get to where you're trying to go. So if a man is born into a rich lifestyle, if he's born into a rich lifestyle, and this, I'm just going to give you the context of the conversation that I had with this man. You've got politicians in the government. Their parents were, or they're some kind of a pillar in the community. Their parents were a mayor or some kind of a city councilman or something, and they practiced that mindset, that teaching of how to govern things, and they were handed that mindset or taught that specific trait to be able to handle a position in that specific part of an office. So they were trained in that office, and then they grew up in that office because they watched their parents do it for a long time, and then they adopted the tenacity to run an office in that stature and be able to graduate from that, and so on and so forth. And they acquired more knowledge throughout the generations, and it kept getting passed down and passed down and passed down. And next thing you know, the person that's coming behind you is someone that you grandfathered in because you taught them what you know about the position you're doing. And now that's all they've ever done because that's all they've ever been trained to do. And that's all they know. So if a person is born into his family and his family knows nothing but construction work, his family has always been a construction and doing construction and laying concrete and building foundations and building framed walls and setting roofs and doing tile work and remodeling houses or building from the ground up and setting everything up and using machinery. That's what they're going to know. That's what you can bring. And then you cannot take that out of that man or that woman, whoever the person might be. You can't take the knowledge of that out of them, but you can try to put more knowledge in, right? So if that person that's all they've ever done, you take that away from them, they won't know what to do. It's the same thing for a rich person. If a person is born into a rich family and they've never known any hard work whatsoever, they've never been to school for anything, and the only thing they've ever done is walking around with their father or their parents and watching them spend money and trade money and working with money all the time and just money, everything about money. And all they have to do is just pay the problem off and then buy the problem off or pay somebody to deal with this stuff or pay somebody to fix this and pay somebody. That's all they know is money. So all they know is money. They don't have the mentality of the struggle. If you don't have the mentality of the struggle, you can't seem to understand the person that's under you that's struggling and why they're struggling because you've never struggled. And the person that has never struggled, that has been born into a rich family, that's never had to struggle a day in his life, becomes your boss. And he doesn't understand why you have to struggle. And the reason why he doesn't understand why you have to struggle is because he's never had to struggle. Money's never been a problem. The only thing he knows is money, but no, money's never been a problem. Everything he's ever had to deal with is concerned to money. Anything that he's ever had a problem with has always been tied to money, and he just used the money, and then he fixed the money was there, and he just fixed the problem with some money. And let me put some money on it. The money, here's a Band-Aid. You need a Band-Aid? Here's some money. I'll put some money on your Band-Aid. Your Band-Aid, just use the money as a Band-Aid. You can cover up the wound that you got, and your money will fix it. No money will heal you. You just buy the problem off and you pay somebody to fix your problem and just go on about your business. That's all the man has ever known. So here in this situation, you have a man that grew up in nothing but money, knowing nothing but money, has never really conducted any true business, just knows how to manipulate money. And with that being said, the person that's always been in that situation or stature has been taught to handle that type of office by his mentors, or that's all he's ever known, becomes part of his character and his nature. So now that he's part of that's part of his nature, if you take that away from him, he's not going to know what to do. You break a rich man, you take away all of his substance, strip his name off of stuff, because God said anything that exalts itself higher than me, I'll bring it down. Do I need to bring a scripture out for you to understand it? So, wait a minute. What about the one I just used to tell you in John chapter 5, verse 43? Him you will receive. A man comes in his own name, and him you will receive. You won't receive Jesus because Jesus is not a millionaire. You think the one that with all the money has all the answers. Not because that he has the ability to fix the problem mentally and having a focus to try to work through a situation because he's worked so hard all the time and he's learned how to be a problem solver. Not on that level, but simply because of the way he thinks and the fact that he's been so spoiled all his life. It makes it easier for him to do things because he's never known a struggle a day in his life. And he just started off with millions and millions and millions of dollars, just pretty much just inherited that mentality, that mindset, that concept, that nature is part of him. When something is your nature or your second nature, it's part of you. It's something that cannot be taken away. And if it is stripped from you, you won't know what to do. If the carpenter grew up in a carpenter's house and he's become a builder of houses, he's got some architectural background, he got a degree in this and that, knows how to run some machinery, you can add to that man because he started off with knowledge to build to his wealth. He wasn't just born into a family that was wealthy and just laid around watching everybody else do the work and just throw money out the door and put on a nice suit and just go about his day. He actually got out there and he got his hands dirty with what he did. So if you add riches to this man, you're not going to take his ability or his tenacity away from him to want to physically apply himself to do the job. Okay? Now, I'm saying all this because this is pretty much the conversation I had with this man. See, I've known several wealthy people throughout my life. I know a few people right now. I have a friend that played for the Dallas Cowboys, and he was only part of the team for a couple of years, but still he played for them. 89, 90. I won't give you his name. And that was one of the better years during that era. He was also a military veteran. He is still a military veteran. I salute him. You know, he worked himself into a position where he can relax, so to speak, but not so much. To him, much is given, much is required. So you have to understand something. I've been in higher circles, but I've never adopted the mentality. Okay? Because all I've ever known in my life is go out and work for it. Go out and work for it. I'll be able to work for it and get it and do it that way. If I go to work and I can make enough and do enough, then I might be able to accomplish doing this thing and build myself up to it. And I have a business I'm trying to build up to right now. Glory be to God. I'm not trying to steal any glory from you, Lord. Please forgive me. I'm just using this as context, Lord. If you'll allow me to use this, use me, Lord, as you see fit. So the man I was talking to happens to be in the process of rebuilding a house and tilling and getting ready to get his land ready to farm on. So he's got the background to do that. But the person that he believes in that will help him live a better lifestyle has none of that background. The person he thinks is going to come and change all that. Let me give you what I'm really trying to say here. See, Jesus was walking the earth in the form of a servant, healing people, working, doing the will of God, the Father. And in a span of 18 years where we didn't see him, even in the text, he just suddenly appears when he's 33 years old and starts a ministry. Or actually 30. We hear about Jesus disappearing when he was 12 and telling his parents, I have to be about my Father's business. And then we don't hear anything else about Jesus until he's 18 years later when he's 30 and going to get baptized by John. Oh, wait a minute. Did I say get baptized by John? The one in whom Jesus loves? And in the same book that I'm in right now, John chapter 5, verse 43. Did you know John and Jesus were cousins? Not distant relatives, but very close. That's why John was chosen to be the one crying in the wilderness, make his path straight. Locusts and honey. I'm trying to get the understanding about how we can come so far through a decade and just absolutely forget where we came from and how things, we're talking about making something great again that was already great to begin with, and we don't need to do anything but improve ourselves as individuals. If you want to be great or be made great or make something great around you, you have to start with you. We all have to live in this thing. We're not all in the same boat. We're not all in this together. Because if that's the case, I don't have fingers. I don't have a thumb that's separate from my fingers. My eyes can't do what my hands can do. My mouth can't do what my hands can do. My hands can't do what my eyes can do. If I lose either one, I can heighten the senses of another, but that doesn't replace that specific component of my body and the nature of that component. It's said in the word that the power of life and death is in the tongue. That means that we can speak death or life into whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. But you have to practice it. If you don't have the background of being a super duper rich person, yeah, of course, every rich person and every extremely poor person that agrees with somebody that has always been nothing but rich and has never worked a day in his or her life would agree to have that person be in charge, because the poor people are going to think, well, this man has always been rich, so he's smarter than the rest of us. Let him help us. He'll fix everything. Wrong. Okay. If you didn't believe that Jesus would do it, how would this man that has come in his own name be able to do it? And then the rich people are thinking, oh, he can help us stay rich because he knows how to stay rich and he's been playing a financial game since the day he was born. He can keep us rich. He can help us skip around and skippity-doo-dah around the laws that we set for the people that are in between the rich and the poor to struggle with. And you can't expect for one man to fix an entire country, because I told this man also. The we the people part on the Constitution doesn't mean we're in control. But the we the people on the Constitution is how things are done. The man in the white, when I'm doing my job, I don't see a politician out there next to me working. I don't see a rich man out there breaking his back to make sure the job gets done. I don't see it. But the politician is in the position they're in because that's all they know. They're in a comfort zone right now. It's not the fact that they've been there for decades, because the rich man and the politician are on the same keel. A rich man has been in that position for decades and has been doing what he does and hides in his corner, gets away with taxes and has free benefits and never does anything to work for anything and is in total agreement with a politician. So you have a politician over here who's been in this position for decades and doing the same thing and getting away with all the stuff and getting free benefits. It's the same concept. You're going to take a rich man and put him in a politician's seat? It's the same thing. You might as well take the politician and put him in a rich man's seat. It's the same thing. People think it's about Democrat or Republican, and it's not. Those are the Sadducees and the Pharisees, the modern day Sadducees and Pharisees. You don't want to hear this because you know I'm right. You don't want to listen to me talk about it because you know you can't even argue with it. And the reason why I say you can't is because it's in the Bible. Because you won't be arguing with me. You're going to be arguing with God. You take it up with him all day. Because I'm not going to fight with you. Because I agree with what's in the word. I'm not right. I'm not a right man. I'm not a righteous man. I'm not better than anybody. I don't put myself up on a pedestal. I wouldn't be where I am right now if it wasn't for God. Every struggle and trial and tribulation God has delivered me from in my life, I've been left by myself with nobody checking on me, period. Matter of fact, let me give you even a deeper note. I can be dead right now and nobody would know it. Until that one day, a couple of years from now, somebody says, oh, wait a minute, I haven't heard from Michael in a while. I wonder whatever happened to him. Oh, man, he's dead. That it would work just like that. But people are so far apart right now, nobody cares about the next person. They're not trying to help the neighbor, they're trying to kill them. Let's overpower them and make them do what we want them to do. That's not love. That's not patriotic. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're liberal or conservative. I don't care. I have no care for any of that, and neither does God. There's nowhere in the word in this Bible that that's sitting in front of me, this King James Version Bible that I read on a regular basis, that I have that looks like a coloring book now that I've been through it so many times, that tells me that I have to be a conservative or a liberal. But it does say a liberal heart will be made fat. It does say that. You can look that up. It's in the word. It's in the Bible. It doesn't say a conservative. Conservative ideology has this way of thinking, I'm going to save myself. Self-preservation. That's what a conservative mind is. Conservate. You want to preservate. Your self-preservation. That's what a conservative does. They think about themselves and only themselves. They don't want to help anybody do anything. And they want to come out on top all the time. Win, win, win. Don't help anybody do anything. Step on everybody you need to get to the top. It doesn't matter. Crush them all. And if they won't adhere, they won't comply, kill them and get them out of the way. I'm not saying the liberals are any better, but I don't care what political stance is. Liberals are like, wait a minute, why aren't we helping these people? And the conservatives are like, why aren't we helping us? That's an argument left for the word of God. If you really have to figure that out, get in the word. If you want the answers to that question, get in the word. Read the word. Don't tell me about how righteous you think you are because you go to church every Sunday when you're not even meditating on what the will of God is for your life. And you think only a man can help you get to where you need to be when it says here clearly, how can ye believe which receive honor one of another and seek not the honor that cometh from God only? You're not looking for honor from God. You're looking for self-righteousness. Self-centered self-righteousness. I'm sorry to say it that way. But everybody wants a sugar-coated version of God where God is always the blessing and God's coming in and healing and doing all these miraculous miracles. That's the reason why everybody was pulling on Jesus' heels when he was walking around trying to do right and do good for people. He didn't just want to do miracles and teach you how you can be healed and all the good things and the treasures of the kingdom. He wanted you to know everything that you needed to know to survive. He said, I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly, so you can have the knowledge you need to make it and survive, not live selfishly. Conservative heart is a selfish heart. They don't think about anybody themselves. And if somebody disagrees with them, they would rather just kill them or get them out of the way. Get them out of here. We don't want that. Nope. So you mean to tell me I can't have my own way of thinking? I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. Tell me how to think. Jesus gave me the ability to be real about it and think logically and be fruitful and help my brother, love my neighbor as I love myself. You want to argue any of those points? I had some lady tell me one day that She just doesn't agree with anything that I was seeing in the Bible. I was using word to tell her about what the word says, and I can't agree with that. Well, don't argue with me. Argue with God. God's the one that said it first. I didn't. I didn't write the Bible. I can't say that I'm living by it 100% completely, but I'm doing the best I can to be changed from the man that I was before to the new creation that Jesus says I am in the spirit. How can you do that if all you're looking to is a man to fix your problems? You waiting for the next rich man to come and you talking about how you love Jesus. I'm going to tell you, I'm a man. I would love to see what $1 million looks like in my bank account. I'm not even going to lie to you. I can't say that I would talk about it much. I can't say that I would just tell everybody, hey, look at me. I'm a rich man. Look at all I got, my diamonds and gold and everywhere and gold ordained us. But I'm so productive. Like I said, it's in my nature to be productive. I have to do something. I can't just sit around on my having people waiting on me hand and foot. I'm not that guy. So even if that was given to me, I would take a break for a little while, but eventually it would get to me where I wouldn't be able to sit still. Glory be to God. Thank you, Lord, for blessing me with that. It's the wisdom that are the true riches, because you can take all the money and all the stuff I have away from me. And you know how many times the Lord has trained me to start over in my life? How many times have you ever seen a millionaire take all the way back down to nothing and then start back to being a millionaire again? That's not easy to do either, especially when the financial game changes so much in this world. Be ye not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds. Because if you have a new mind and you're a new creation and a new creature in Christ, and you already know and you have the knowledge of God in your heart, God will supply all your needs. He'll give you everything you need to get where you need to go. He'll give you the ability to obtain the knowledge and the curriculum and be courageous about doing and taking the steps that he's given you to get to where you need to be. It's not about who's rich or who's poor, who's right or who's wrong. Because if you really want to look at it logically, we're all wrong. And the saddest thing is, people will look at this video and be mad at the messenger, just like they did the prophets. The prophet said, God said, if you didn't stop doing this, then this is what's going to happen to you if you don't stop. And what they do, they kill the prophets. They kill the prophet because the prophet came to tell them about the message from God that they asked to hear. They ask the Lord for answers, and the prophet of the Lord is sent to them with the answer by the Lord, and they kill him. And then they did the same thing to Jesus. You reject the messenger of God and then go to sit in the church on Sunday. Hypocrite. If you're going to go to church, try to live by the word. Simple as that. Do you know how much easier your life would be if everything you did was toward God? I'm being serious. It's us that complicate stuff. That's why the Bible tells us the imagination of a man's heart is evil continually. That means it's nonstop evil coming out of us all the time. The only way to stop that is to be led by the Spirit. And the only way to be led by the Spirit, faith come by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. And if you're not listening to the word of God, you're not going to have any faith to back up your decisions. And if you don't know how to make a decision, you give it to God. You take all those thoughts captive to the obedience of Christ. You give it to God, and you let God guide you. Sometimes you'll have to wait. And that's just part of life. You're going to wait. And if you try to hurry up and get to it, every man that is hasty, you'll do everything hastily only to want it. And you'll keep wanting it because you'll never get there trying to be in a hurry to get to it. Everything is a step-by-step process. If you take your time and get there step by step, you'll get to where you need to go. It might take a little longer than you wanted to, but it'll get there. But I know sometimes the Lord will use whomever he deems necessary to have people refreshed in understanding so that they will know that God is the one saying what needs to be said to you instead of the answer you seek in the grass being greener across the street. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Hope you have a wonderful week. Hope you have a blessed week. Be safe, be prepared, and be vigilant, be sober, because the devil roams as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. If he can get in your mind and get you to start thinking about every problem you got in your life, that's you trying to be God in yourself. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And he's get you all confused and distracted, and you'll get way off track, and you'll always be stuck in the same position that you were in before because you don't want to change your mind and let God deal with it. And I don't know who that was for, but maybe it's about time you grow up. Have a wonderful week, people. Be blessed.